What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to go over what you should do with your dimensional hole energy after you're done with the main like two-way units that you're trying to make, right? So that's like your Vigor, your Sath and Tattoo for your Giants B12 team, your Trikaru team, Vigor, Lulu, Belladon, Shaman, whatever else that you're trying to two-way on your account. This is what you should do with your two-way energy. I mean, not your two-way, your dimensional hole energy once you're done with the core two-way units, right? So I just want to show you guys a couple dungeons and the teams that I use for these dungeons as well, and why I specifically picked these dungeons. So first is going to be the Sanctuary of Dreaming Fairies. So this is the one where you could two-way your, like your fairies, and then the whatever the other things are called. Oh, I forget what they're called, right? Let's see here. Yeah, the high elementals, the pixies, and the fairies. Thank you. Alright, so Sanctuary of Dreaming Fairies. You could always go to the strategy info, look at what the most popular monsters that people are bringing into here. The reason why they're all going to be the wind element is because when you actually go into the battle, so the only monsters of the same attribute can enter. Since this boss is a water boss, you do preferably want to use wind units in here. So this is the team that I have for the Sanctuary of Dreaming Fairies. Alright, you have Orochi, the Wind Ninja, then you have Yen, which is the Wind Rakshasa, then you have Chassoon and Bernard. These are all 4-star and below units. I don't use any Nat 5s for my team, and it's still pretty successful as well. And we're going to go into actually farming this in the times 10 farming, so then you guys could actually, so that I could still show you guys the runes, and then we could also watch it farm as well. So here we're going to go to Alunia, go to the Sanctuary of Dreaming Fairies. Alright, now we're just going to start this up. Okay, so here we go. We'll watch it run after I go through the actual runes itself. So first we have Orochi. You want him to have a decent amount of attack, but mainly it's going to be the speed, crit rate, crit damage, and a little bit of accuracy. Because his skills, the continuous damage effects, he's going to do 6 continuous damage effects on this ability, which is going to be really useful against the boss. Because when the boss takes a turn, when all those continuous damage effects goes off, then it's just going to be really beneficial to just try to nuke down the boss as quick as possible. He also is just a really good leader skill for the wind units. 30% attack speed increase. That's really good. Absorb attack bar, and then just doing the normal skill 1 with continuous damage on the skill 1, just like all the other ninjas. Alright, and for his runes, I just have him on Fatal Energy. This is a great way to get rid of your Fatal runes and Energy runes. Just put him on Orochi, and just have him be your farmer for the Sanctuary of Dreaming Fairies. Alright, so I have him on, we'll just go speed, crit damage, and attack, and then just go for good substats of like speed and crit rate, some attack percent, more speed and crit rate, and then the crit rate and attack percent. So that's pretty much like the core build for my Orochi. And then just whatever damage artifacts you want to put on them. I don't think that the artifacts are technically necessary, but there you go. That's just what I have on mine. Next we have Yen. Yen is really useful, especially because of her passive, being able to get an additional turn, and then increasing the chance of getting an additional turn if it doesn't actually get one. So really good to pair up with a violent set, so she can constantly get additional turns, and the proc rates are just really nice. So it's also really useful for her skill 2. She hits 3 times, and then she absorbs the attack bar. So absorbing instead of just decreasing, so she actually takes that attack bar, which is really good, helping her get even more additional turns. And then want to rune her on a decent amount of crit rate, so then she can apply that continuous damage effect, and then the skill 1, just being able to decrease the attack speed of the enemy. Next we'll have Chassoon. Oh, actually, let me show the runes real quick for Yen. So I highly recommend putting her on Violent because of that skill 2, and her passive being able to get the additional turn, and then a decent amount of attack, decent speed, and then crit rate and crit damage. You will need some accuracy, and I would say you probably should have close to plus 7,500 health on everybody, but I would try to shoot more for being around like plus 10,000, just for the safety sake of the actual dungeon itself. Alright, and then we just have her on speed, crit damage, and attack. And as you see, I don't even have grinds on here, so this team could actually get better. Alright, next we have Chassoon. You might have built Chassoon for your R5 team. So she probably should be on either a decent swift set or a very solid violent set with some good resistance, but more importantly, the tankiness and then a decent speed. She's only going to be in there to apply that attack buff and heals for your team, and then if anybody's close to dying, she'll have her skill 3 just to get them up there, back to almost full health, hopefully. And then the skill 1 being able to provide that glancing hit, always good on bosses. Once they glancing hit, they just don't hit as hard. Always useful. Alright, you don't have to have a shield set, that's just something that I put on Chassoon. You're probably going to take more turns and the shield set's going to just fall off anyway before it even becomes useful, so it doesn't matter. And then she's just going to be on speed, HP, and HP with just a decent amount of speed. I would say try to have, like, your healers always want to be around like plus 100 or higher. And then yeah, overall just tankiness. And then we're going to have Bernard, because you want Bernard in there to try to get as many turns as possible for your Orochi and your Yen. So just rune it fast, broken set is fine. I would say around like plus 150 speed is okay. Anything more than that, you know, it's just a bonus. And then a decent amount of accuracy, so then you can provide that attack break and the defense break on the skill 2. But yeah, getting that attack bar boost and the attack speed. And then if you have artifacts that deal damage based on speed, additional damage based on speed, then yeah, that's just going to help out even more. And then he's just a whatever build, speed, HP, and HP. Just looking for the speed subs and getting them up there. Alright, so now let's actually get into looking at the Sanctuary of Dreaming Fairies. Yeah, we're just going to look at the, mainly just the boss fight. Cool, so now it's actually going to reset. And these were the previous runs that we did, so it's averaging right now about a minute and 20, between a minute 18, minute and 29, so we'll just say like a minute and 24 seconds is what it's averaging. And the reason why we want to do Sanctuary of Dreaming Fairies and why I recommend it is because you're going to get your Nemesis Ancient Runes, your Will Ancient Runes, and Despair. So those 3 sets are all really useful for PvP. Will, everybody knows Will. It's just a really good set. Especially if you have slower runes, Will is always going to be good. Despair runes, everybody knows that Despair stuns happen all the time. Unless you're trying to Despair somebody, then they never happen, right? And then just good Nemesis sets. Always useful. And then you could also get the Ancient Grinds and Gens in here too. Alright, so now we're on the boss fight. So I just focus the boss every single round. I don't go for the left or the right monsters, right? So we're just trying to... Oh, I think my pizza's here too, that's why my dogs are going crazy. But yeah. You're just going to focus the boss the entire time. As you saw, the continuous damage effects from Orochi going on there, very useful for when the boss takes a turn. And then you have Yen up there just doing a little bit of that attack bar pushback. And then Chassoon is just going to give that attack buff and heal up whenever my units are taking damage. So, as you saw, I didn't have like really crazy runes on my units. And then these are most likely runes that I've had like since the beginning. And I would say that their stats are, I guess, a little bit better than that, like the average runes or whatever you want to call it. But you only need just the 2 violent sets, one for Yen and one for Chassoon. But Yen actually technically doesn't need violent. I just prefer her on violent, just so that she has more opportunity to take additional turns. Yeah, Orochi just on a standard fatal build, right? And again, I'm still only going for the boss. So there's no like specific strategy here besides just punch the boss in the face until he dies. So problems that you might run into, especially if you're not dealing enough damage, or if you're not like getting the defense break on the boss, then they're probably just going to outlast your damage and then just kill you off one by one, especially with the last stage when there's Oberon on there. He will nuke something down with the boss. And then you're also going to make sure that you need to put a decent amount of speed. If your units are less than probably like plus 80 speed, plus 90 speed, if they're less than that, then you're probably going to struggle. You need to take as many turns as possible in order to try to kill the boss as fast as possible. Because you're just going straight for the boss. Yeah, there have been times where the Belinus, the Fire Druid, has also caused some problems too. Like he'll taunt up some of my guys, put defense break on them, put the continuous damage effects, and then they'll slowly get picked off one by one if he's able to take a turn. So the goal is to just kill the boss as fast as possible, so put really good damage sets on there and good speed. Alright, so now we're going to move into the other dungeon I recommend, which is going to be the Cauldron... It's in Calderon, whatever that one is, but we'll just get right into that. Next dungeon is going to be in Calderon. It's going to be the Ruin of Silent Death. Okay, so in this dungeon, you have to pick one of each type. So if you don't know what that means, for the monster type, it's going to be when you look at your actual monster. This one says support here for Fran. For Rayoak, it's going to say attack. For Vigor, it's going to say HP. And then for Shaman is going to be defense. Okay, so you need one of each of those. So however you mix them up, that's on you. But this is the team that I recommend actually for Ruin of Silent Death. Alright, so we'll just look at the builds real quick. So we have Fran on Violent Will. I do highly recommend a Violent set. You don't have to be on Will because you're always going to take a turn before the enemy anyways, because you're going to be faster than them. So you could really just put Violent whatever on Fran if you want her to, and she'll most likely have that because a lot of people use them for their farming teams anyway. But yeah, you want good HP and defense, and then a decent amount of speed. So I would say try to replicate these stats. You could probably go a little bit faster if you wanted to, and then also make sure that she's skilled up. We're also going to use her as a leader skill, but you can put Shaman as a leader skill as well if you want the attack power up there. Alright, so next we're going to do Rayoak. A lot of people make a mistake with Rayoak by barely giving Rayoak any HP and really just trying to focus on damage output. I don't. So I want a more well-rounded Rayoak, where just so then he doesn't die as frequently. Because I was running into a lot of issues that he was dying on some occasions, and then it was just making my team runs fail. And then also, if your accuracy isn't high and he's not letting the defense break, then that's also going to cause some problems too. So I just went for overall stat efficiency. I'm not really looking for my Rayoak to deal a bunch of damage, because we have Shaman in here to be the big damage dealer. So the stats that I have on here, just speed, crit damage, and attack, but I have good like defense and HP subs on the rest of my runes. Okay, so the accuracy, really important. You really need to land that defense break, and then a decent amount. I would prefer to have over 10,000 HP. I prefer that more than having like 1,000 attack. Okay, and then a decent amount of defense. But definitely make sure that he's around like plus 100 to plus 110 speed, because this dungeon is difficult. Yeah, so that's Rayoak, and I do have him fully skilled up. I don't know if that's completely necessary, but I did skill him up. Alright, so for Vigor, also on Violent Will, I prefer a crit damage build over just a really tanky build. I think the extra damage really helps get the dungeon completed faster and safer. I mean, the faster a dungeon run should be a little bit safer, but that kind of varies based on the actual team build itself. Again, doesn't have to be on Will, but I do highly recommend a Violent set. The reason why I want a Violent set on Fran and Vigor is for getting their heals up as soon as possible. Because one of the problems with the boss is there's going to be a bunch of continuous damage effects going on your team all the time. And you can't cleanse those unless you're at full HP. So having Fran and Vigor cycle their heals non-stop is a really good way to mitigate just being blown up with those continuous damage effects. And then, yeah, also getting the opportunity to get the defense break up with skill 3 with Vigor also just helps. Okay, and I just have mine on speed, crit damage, and HP, with decent subs for crit rate, speed, and accuracy, and HP. Okay, then lastly we're going to go to the big damage dealer, is going to be Shaman. A lot of people try to put really high attack on Shaman. I don't. I also don't have mine skilled up. But yeah, you also don't have to have 100% crit rate, because the boss is the dark element, so you'll get 15% crit rate bonus just for having the elemental advantage. But yeah, he deals more damage to the dark attribute, so that's what makes him really good for this dungeon. And then skill 2, dealing damage proportional to max HP of the enemy, is also really good on bosses. So you'll find this really good for TOA runs, and then also for this dungeon as well, the Ruin of Silent Death. So decent HP, and then you don't need a whole lot of speed, don't really need a whole lot of anything else besides just have decent HP, a decent amount of attack, but mainly just getting that crit rate up there and that crit damage. That's where a lot of your damage is going to come from. Okay, and then again, you can exchange Fran and Shaman out with one another for the leader skill. If you're not dealing enough damage, put the Shaman up there. If you want to like turn cycle a little bit more, then put the Fran up there. Okay. All right. So this dungeon will fail on occasion. You will get bad luck. It does happen. Okay. It's not going to be as safe as the last one that we did, the Sanctuary of Dreaming Fairies. Um, yeah, all the wave stuff should be pretty straightforward, pretty simple. If you're having issues with just the waves itself, then you're probably not ready to do the dungeons anyway, so we don't really have to worry about the waves here. But yeah, for the boss, so those continuous damage effects, your team won't get the continuous damage effects if you're at full health, and then also if you have immunity up, then you won't get them either. But you can see these little continuous damage, like little death symbols here. So now since a little bit of our HP actually went down, and then we also, every time he hits us, then we get a little bit of those continuous damage effects done to us, right? But you see that we're healing, so those little tickers are starting to go down. Okay? So we'll actually look at the skills here. Attacks all enemies. Then here, the attack speed will increase based on how many turns your teams get, so he'll get faster and faster based on how many times he gets hit. And then for the passive, guess I'm just killing stuff too quickly in order for us to actually look at it. Okay, I don't care about that. Wait. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, if your unit dies, then you're probably going to fail to run anyway, so that doesn't matter. Alright, yeah, so you can be stripped with this attack. And then you could also get like the block beneficial effects and defense break and stuff like that on there as well, and be stunned. So it's kind of a pain for that skill 3. You just have to be ready for that. Yeah, well, let's go with the actual like turn order and with the actual boss itself. We'll sell this real quick. Okay, and then we'll get back through these waves. So I believe I try to attack the left unit first for the first stage of the boss and the second, and I think during the third wave I just target the boss by himself. I can't remember what the first wave is, but we'll see it right here. And I think the second wave is maybe the Fire Death Knight. I'll just stop guessing what it is though, and then we'll just take a look at it. Yeah, but for the first wave and the second wave, I always target the left monster first. Okay, yeah, so right here we do target the Fire Grim Reaper. Yeah, now we'll attack the boss. I mean, you could make an argument to attack the Lulu just so then it could stop healing, then also giving the boss immunity as well. Because the defense break really does help push the stage a lot faster. Another reason why Shaman is also good for this dungeon is because every time Shaman attacks, it actually heals up your team. So you'll see that the healing go on every time Shaman hits the boss. Alright, so now first stage is done. We're going to go to the second stage, and yeah, the Fire Death Knight is going to be the next thing that we target. He'll just nuke something down. He hits really hard with his skill, so we just try to nuke that down so then one of our units don't get accidentally nuked. So it's better just to take the precaution and just kill it. I think with the third wave, there's just Ethna there, and then shouldn't have a big issue with Ethna. So yeah, we just go straight for the boss. Some people are probably capable of just going straight for the boss during every single wave, but I think maybe better rune quality is needed for that. I'm not sure exactly. But yeah, this is just what has had it most consistent for me during the runs. Yeah, I don't attack Ethna or Cadiz this round, and I'll just go straight for the boss. But yeah, having this immunity up is really helpful, and then getting the constant heals is really important to get these little continuous damage counters down. And that should be pretty much the Ruin of Silent Death. It typically is faster than this. I don't know why it's going around like 2-minute runs. I think because that Lulu was healing and giving the immunity, so we weren't getting the defense breaks. It was just stalling us for like that first wave, or the first instance of the boss. But yeah, these are pretty much like the 2 dungeons that I recommend. The Sanctuary of Dreaming Fairies for those Despair, Will, and Nemesis runes. And then for this here, you're pretty much just trying to farm Swift runes. Like if you're really just trying to get the best Swift runes you can on your account, that's just what you're going for. Let me just double check to see what other runes are there, because I haven't really paid attention to them. because I'm pretty much just trying to farm Swift runes out of there. But yeah, let's look at the drop info. What else are you going to get out of here? Yeah, not much. I mean, I guess like a decent shield set, but you're pretty much just chasing speed and Swift runes here. But yeah, so it's whatever you're trying to run on your account. But a lot of people are really chasing like the best Swift sets possible, so they can just be faster than their opponent, and that's just a good way to do it, right? Is just go for those runes. But I don't recommend doing like Karzan or Lumel. I don't even know what drops in Sacrion. Okay, Despair sets. Revenge sets are actually not bad. So Despair and Revenge, I guess I wouldn't complain about people probably farming this. But since you can get Despair runes in the Sanctuary of Dreaming Fairies, it's just so good right here with the Despair, Nemesis, and Will. You can even get Endure runes here as well, and those I would probably say are better than, I don't know, like Energy, Fatal. Probably not Fatal, but like, at least like Energy, Guard, and just like some of the basic runes. Yeah, and then what about Lumel? So Lumel, okay, so Vampire and Will sets are actually not bad to farm. So if you did want to farm that, probably not too bad. But yeah, there's only 2 sets here, and then you can get possibly 3 sets that are actually really useful from Sanctuary of Dreaming Fairies, right? From Karzan, pretty much nothing besides just Rage and Nemesis, and even then, not the best runes to get. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this video. I don't really have much else for you guys on this, besides I just wanted to show you the 2 teams that I use specifically for those dungeons and what you should do after you're done second awakening like your core monsters. And again, I would say those core monsters are probably like Vigor, Lulu, Rayoak, and then yeah, like your Tricaru, Sath Tattoo, maybe Belladon and Crow would be okay, but anything after that, like, it's really just personal preference, whatever you want to use on your account. Yeah, but that's like in another video anyway, where I go more in depth on why you should second awaken certain ones. So yeah, hopefully this video helped. If you want to know, or if you have like your own dungeon teams and you want to share them with me, go ahead and leave that in the comments. Or if you want me to test out certain units to see if they actually work in the dungeons, I could try to build a team around that too, so just let me know. Alright, but yeah, that's all I have for you guys, so I hope you guys have a good day, and I will see you in the next video. See ya.